if you're going to walk into a dance class and talk to a group of dancers who have no idea what Seselelame is, what would you say? How would you define it?
So Seselelame translated into English is feel at flesh inside. Feel at flesh inside. Feel at flesh inside.
So Seselelame comes from Ewe culture in West Africa, namely Ghana and also Benin. So Seselelame is, if you like, an umbrella term for feelings in the body. And by feelings, this also resonates very strongly with thinking. When we think about the senses, we think about our way of reading the outside world. With Seselelame, it's really a combination of what's happening internally and what's happening externally. So there's not a separation.
It's important to know that what that word is challenging is the idea of dualism. And dualism is the philosophy that mind and the body are split.
One of the things that we're really trying to stress in the dance department now is this has to be as healthy as the rest of this. If you take your vision away, you're only relying on your hearing and then your proprioceptive input from your hands, your feet, where you are in space. But then what your brain says, your brain doesn't rely on your vision anymore, it relies more on the others, but it integrates all of the others to get a better understanding of what you're doing in space or what you need.
Feeling at the flesh, which sort of speaks to the external, that sort of proprioceptive tactileness, but the at flesh inside, in the sense that the inner world is being informed by the outer world, but that the inner world is also affecting how we go about in the outer world.
Intuition is seemingly this place that we relate to. It comes from the gut. I just felt it, therefore I did it. Intuition is partly built out of experience, whereby you're able to make a decision very quickly without seemingly making a decision, like the decision is almost made for itself, because you have had a history of being in a particular situation where certain factors come into play, and therefore you intuitively know what to do. Intuition is linking into some of the emotional states of cognition that we might not necessarily be so attuned to when we are thinking.
Our gut is so multi-dynamic, right? You could say it has its own brain. Other people, immunologists would say that your immune system is based in your gut. It is changing our perceptions because it's activating our stress response, which then changes our perception of something in our environment. There is scientific evidence that says there is an intuition, but from a scientific standpoint, it's going to go into what is the microbes doing in your gut.
I've had a situation occur where there wasn't congruency with my mind, my thinking mind, or my emotions, and what was going on kind of in my flesh. Sometimes it takes the emotions a second to catch up with your intuitive sense.
How your brain is activated in a technique class is very different than it's going to be in an improvisation class. What you're doing in technique is you're building upon layers of skill, right? Improvisation is you're taking that base layer of skill and then you're using your creative space to create something new with the skills you already have. Right? So you might have a base activation because you're recalling skills that you've learned in technique, and then you're adding it on. So the initial sequence of activation in your brain will probably be very similar, and then as improv goes longer, those sequences will change.
When it comes to what we're doing in the studio, which is highly, in some senses, highly performance-oriented, we are looking towards improvisation being something that is as articulate as a performance that is choreographed. So on an individual level, to improvise requires a commitment to practicing the sense of being present and what that present offers.
If someone wanted to debate with you about this, they would probably bring up the fact that competition is what drives excellence. So if you get rid of competition in the dance classroom, are you going to see a decline in excellence? My question to you would be, do you have a counter argument?
Well, I am working with a concept which I call collaborative competition, which might sound like a bit of an oxymoron, but in fact, if you look more closely at what competition, the root of the word means, to sustain together. So if you look at the Latin root of competition, it's competere, which means to sustain together. Competition isn't about only one winner, but about sustaining the arc of the performance.
There's actually a little bit of data looking at what happens for healthy competition versus really negative competition. Healthy competition is driving up all the endorphins, you're activating your sympathetic response, and even sometimes your different parts of your autonomic system is becoming aroused because you're excited and you're moving forward, right? But then if you have unhealthy competition, it is so stressful on your body, and MRI studies have shown reduction in gray and white matter due to stress. And there's an abnormal brain activation patterns that happen in stress. I mean, the increase of stress drives all kinds of psychological disorders that one can manifest, that maybe if not under a stressful situation, maybe those would have never manifested.
So for me, improvisation with these sensibilities, with Seselelame, this inner directed world, doesn't mean that we're not excelling.
So in that case, a competitor is a person who draws out of you what you can't derive with your own faculties, with your own will. Seselelame is a wonderful pedagogical tool for the teaching of dance. The human worth is separate from the qualifications or even the talent.
How can we teach dancers to perform at their best ability, not only by having the healthy skeleton system, but also driving the connection between their mind and their body?
In the 21st century, which is where we are, dancers are exposed to many forms of dance, so we can learn many different styles. But I think to really think about a dancer being valued in the cultures that we are living in, Western cultures, that it's perhaps time to think about how dance can be used to empower not only the dancer who's trained as a professional, but how dance what agency does it have in terms of people accessing the world through movement and through awareness of their body, through the expressivity that the body has? Thinking about how you train a dancer, if their role is not only to go onto a concert stage and perform beautiful works, but also to take their knowledge and apply it in other settings and be an agent for remembering. Because as we get more and more digitized, we are losing more and more connection to each other and to our sacrosanct body. So I just think that, there's an opening there for thinking about the field of dance pedagogy and the application of dance in the world. The agency that dance could have could be enormous. How does dance enable you to understand who you are and what possibility you have?